What's up, creepers and geekers? Chris, the Atari Creep. How is everyone doing today? You know, I saw on Facebook today something very interesting that caught my eye, and it's ironic because I think subconsciously I kind of stick with the trends in a weird way. Recently, I've been in my mind anyway, an 8-bit computer kick. I've been looking around for a decent, Atari or Commodore or whatever, maybe even a Coco or a Tandy. And for some reason, my mind has just been set on that. Maybe I should start picking up and collecting a few of these things. And then I see this thing on Facebook that apparently there's a mini Commodore 64 coming into the marketplace with 60 games in it. And at first, I just kind of about it. But I went to the website. I clicked on it anyway. And you know what? I'm kind of excited about this. This seems like a pretty cool deal. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else more to talk about. So let me see if I can't readjust this camera. I'll show you what I'm looking at here on the computer screen. We'll talk about it, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, so let's go to the website. The website is thec64.com. And there's a lot of interesting information on here. And this is why I'm kind of excited about this, actually. At first, I scoffed at it, but then I got to realize, there's more to this than meets the eye than any other plug-and-play. And it's more my speed anyway, So they have this nifty logo here, which looks very cool. The C64 trademark is here. The world's best-selling single computer model has been reimagined. Now, another little thing I want to note is they use C64 a lot. I don't recall seeing the word Commodore anywhere in here. And that's interesting because this is supposedly a fully licensed product. Not that that makes any difference or not. But regardless, just an interesting observation in my opinion anyway. So this is what it's going to look like. This is going to be the console, and of course you have your joystick here. We're going to get back to this joystick in a few minutes. You do have two USB ports on the side that you can either hook up a secondary controller and or a keyboard. I'm going to assume these keys aren't functional. I'm going to assume they're just aesthetic. But what's important to note about being able to connect a keyboard to it is that you're going to be able to use it as if it were a regular C64. You can even run, program in BASIC. And they even talked about creating your own games and stuff too with it. So that's pretty neat. So it's looking like it's probably going to be about a quarter of the size of a real deal. They talk about, the Commodore itself and when it came out, the 64 anyway, and its specs and stuff like that. They show a few more pictures here, and here's your HDMI port, which is pretty cool. They show the side again. I'm going to assume this is some kind of reset button. And overall, I think it's a nice looking package. Here's a preliminary list of games that they're talking about putting on it. I'm sure for some of you 8-bit computer cats, a lot of these are going to look very familiar to you. And a lot of them look familiar to me too. A lot don't. So I'm really excited to explore this thing. Now let's go back to the joystick before I hit the About page, because there is some information on there that's pretty interesting. If you recall back in, I think it was 2004, again, as always, feel free to correct me down below. There was a plug-and-play, a Commodore 64 plug-and-play that came out. I believe it was Mammoth Toys that produced it. Regardless. But it looked exactly like this joystick. I mean, it even had these 4 buttons, which were used in function keys as far as the keyboard is concerned, because all you got was the joystick, and it came with 30 games. And it was a really interesting piece of hardware, because it wasn't necessarily like Nintendo on a chip technology. It's my understanding they took 3 of the chips from the actual Commodore 64 and combined them into one. Now, it was still an emulation machine of sorts, but savvy people are able to hack into it and effectively use this like an actual Commodore 64. And for that reason, they're scarce now, and they're very expensive to get your hands on. And at first, I was like, it's just going to be that with an extra piece of plastic. But after seeing it's going to come with 64 games, so more than double what the actual plug-and-play had, and then you have all this, and you have the functionality of actually putting a keyboard onto it, I'm really down with this. And the fact that I think it's only going to be $70, 64 games, the ability to run BASIC, the ability to use this like an actual Commodore 64, I think that's a great deal. I think I'm really excited about this. So let's go over here and talk about a few things that's really interesting. So they talk about the world's best-selling computer is reborn. It's going to be a mini version of the 80s home computer. It comes with a joystick and 64 fully licensed classic games. Amazing. Connects directly to a TV, any modern TV. This is interesting right here. A full-size, fully working version is also coming in 2018. Now, I'm not going to go too far into that. Not that they do anyway. But I find it very interesting that they're going to... Are they literally just going to make a brand new C64 just with modern chipsets and all that? Are you going to be able to put cartridges into it? That's interesting, and I'm going to be very interested in following this information, especially for you guys who are really into these 8-bit Commodores. I don't know if that would be exciting to you. Depending on the price point, I may be looking forward to that as well. If it's just going to be a real super-duper fancy version of what we're already getting with the Mini, then maybe not so much. But let's see if there's anything else here of note to talk about before I give you my final thoughts. Okay, so down here they just talk about, the first range to be released is the C64 Mini. It benefits as a home computer. You can also plug into a television. Standard USB keyboards. Nothing we haven't talked about already. But yeah, so you can type those old basic computer listing or program new games. And then they talk about it's going to release in early 2018, probably spring, I'm going to assume. And it's going to retail here in the States for $69.99. I think that's a fantastic deal. And then they go on to talk about the company that's producing it, Retro Games something or other, Limited, I think they're called. And this is who's distributing it, Koch Media, or Koch Media, however you want to say it. I believe it's Koch. And that's really it. And, the games page doesn't have any more than the other page does. Just bigger pictures. And news, community, contact, and of course shop. So apparently you can pre-order this now. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what more to say about it. This is very interesting. I don't know if the full-size one is going to be, worth the ducats or not. But yeah, so let me readjust this camera and give you my final thoughts. Now, what? I'm not going to lie. Plug-and-play type systems have been around for a long time, but ever since Nintendo did it, it's almost like it's booming up again. Everyone's like, okay, we need to make actual nice products that represent what it is that we've been selling all these years. Which, in a way, is a benefit. Going back to flooding the market, is this going to be the new version of Pong units? More than likely. Not seeing them as relevant as Pong was, but I'm just glad to see that there are some coming out for generations of guys like me who really like this older stuff. And I know a lot of you cats have this C64 in your home. You did a lot with it growing up. I personally didn't have a home computer growing up. I didn't have one until the 90s, to be honest with you. And I was well out of high school at that point. But I'm fairly excited about this one. This is a left field, off the cuff kind of deal. It's not your typical Atari, Nintendo, Sega. It's going to be interesting to see the quality of this thing and how well it does sell. I think the price point is right on. I would spend the money on this before I would spend the $80 for the SNES Mini Classic, which I know a lot of you folks are enjoying today, the day it got released. And that's really it. So guys, what are your thoughts? Can you get behind something like this? Are you excited about it? Or is it just something that's like, yeah, that's pretty cool, not for me? Go ahead and leave feedback down below. All feedback's positive. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And guys, thanks as always for watching. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye. Hey, what's up, folks? The Creep here. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more. You can follow The Creep on social media, and feel free to reach out at any time here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Creep would love to hear from you. And as always, thank you, take care, and bye-bye.